Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm looking at two different plugins from a company called Teletone Audio, and I've featured this developer on this channel before, talking about a bunch of their really good synthesizers and hybrid plugins for Kontakt and even the Kontakt free player. So you can use their plugins if you don't have the full version of Kontakt. And the same as with these two that we're talking about today too. So Electro and Soulfi are two different drum plugins, which really sound fantastic. I have both pulled up inside of Logic, and then I also have them pulled up on my Complete Control MK3 here, where I can trigger the manual mode for both of these plugins, where you can play the individual kit pieces. And then I also have all of the preset drum grooves for each drum kit on the right hand side, where I can trigger and play back. So we got that, and we could explore all of this using the keyboard and also inside of Logic Pro here with both of these plugins and all the features that they have that come with it. First, I want to take a look at the website and both the landing pages for both of these drum plugins to see what they entail for each of them. So Electro is the electronic rhythm orchestrator by Teletone Audio. And what's great about this plugin is it has sampled a bunch of legendary drum machines. So we're talking about the Roland TR-808, Roland TR-909, the Linn drum, as well as Moog D-Fam, Roland Juno 60, and a variety of other digital synthesizers, including the Casio SK1, the Yamaha DX7, and a variety of other synthesizers and vintage drum machines. So Electro is very robust. There's a lot to offer. It has a built-in beat maker, as well as a bunch of inspiring beats and grooves to dig into, and you got them all BPM categorized in the range of 60 BPM to 120 plus BPM. Each beat contains 7 variations that you can easily key switch between, making for a total of 700 plus grooves to get you started and inspired for beat making. There's a bunch of controls for humanizing the grooves so you can get a real feel for a drum player inside of your projects, as well as these really cool features for sound design where you can actually blend between the different samples of all these legendary drum machines and unlock a unique dimension that you can create with this plugin, blending between all of these different drum pieces. So that's Electro, and then we have Soulfi, which is their other drum plugin, their most recent one, in fact. And this is supposed to be more authentic drum sounds, drums with soul. These drums are recorded with an authentic 1955 ribbon microphone, and the sample pieces are all vintage era specific drums, giving you an authentic acoustic sound. And they have a bunch of demos you can check out on their website as well. But like I said, they use vintage RCA ribbon microphones, capturing a smooth, natural response with rich tonal qualities in these drum sounds. And they've been processed through a bunch of different transformers to give them a rich, warm analog sound, and TubeTech EQ to give these sounds a crispy edge and low end punch. Overall, for Soulfi, you get 41 different kits with over 100 vintage and modern drums, recorded with multiple round robins and velocity layers. So a bunch of different kit pieces that you can mix and match to get really unique drum kit sounds. And then this one has a groove library with over 100 beats. Each beat includes 7 variations, giving you more than 700 grooves to spark your creativity. So these drum plugins are really robust. They have a lot to offer. And yeah, I want to take a look at what we can discover in these two plugins together. Let's first take a look at both of these plugins in an overview sense, because both of these plugins UIs are very similar. I like that there's a continuity in design between both of the plugins. So for both Electro and Soulfi, we have a sound design section where we can select what we want to change with our pitch wheel and our mod wheel. You can do this for both Soulfi and Electro, using your keyboard's pitch wheel and mod wheel to trigger both of those different aspects. And you get to select what you want in the sound design section. And you can lock this as well so that when you're flipping through presets, it doesn't change and it's still going to control the same parameters using both your pitch wheel and your mod wheel. Below that, we have a distress section for both plugins. We have a saturation section for Electro. And if we click on this, you have distortion and saturation to choose between. In the third section, we have flanger, phaser, chorus, and these can all work additively where you can layer them on top of one another. Because if I turn up the encoder for the flanger, then I go to phaser and add that, and then chorus. As we flip back through all of these, it saves the position and values for those effects so you can add them on top of one another. Then we have a low pass, high pass filter, reverb that does not work additively. You have to choose between one of them, of which you get 5 different options for reverb. You got gated long, gated short, room, plate, and spring reverb. Quite a few options for reverb. And then we have a swing dial over here for 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, and 1/32. On Soulfi, it's very similar. We have a distress section. In the second spot, we have a decade section, which is a little different, degrading the sound, making it sound a little more older, more vintage. We have an effects section that we can also work with additively. Soulfi gives us 4 effects in total compared to the 3 effects that we get with Electro, adding saturation to this column, whereas saturation is actually just the second knob on this one. So it's really no different, I guess, if you look at it in that sense. The only difference is you get distortion with this one. Otherwise, the effects are the same. For reverb, we have room, plate, vintage, spring, coil spring, tank spring, and slap. So if you want to take a look at the differences between these two, you get some different options and one extra option for reverb. Then over here we have the same swing option, and then one last rotary that the other one doesn't have for noise, where you can add cassette noise, room tone, or vinyl noise to your overall drum sound. And this will actually not activate until you press play inside of your host DAW, so that you don't constantly hear noise. So if I just choose cassette noise here, turn it up, and then press play, you'll hear a little bit of cassette noise. And then we also have room tone. And actually, I think you have to turn up, I think you can add all of these too. So if I turn up the room and then turn down cassette, let's see what it sounds like. Very subtle. And then vinyl, get some vinyl crackle in there. So room's really the most subtle, but yeah, it could just add some character to your sounds. So let's just go ahead and reset both of these. I'm gonna unlock the sound design section and toggle up, and then back down. Do the same thing for this one. And let's just hear what both of these plugins sound like. And I'm gonna switch over to the Complete Control MK3 and trigger both of these. So this is the default kit for Soulfi. That's Soulfi. And then this is a default kit for Electro. So really great drum sounds right off the bat for both initialized presets. To me, both of these plugins sound more authentic than many different versions of the 808, LinnDrum. And if we just scroll down here, we can see all the different kit piece options, but the sounds that they have recorded for the 808, as well as DFAM, LinnDrum, even using Juno, a DX7, all these different kit pieces, they just sound more authentic to me. I don't know if it's just because they were recorded the way they were recorded and processed, the way they were processed, but these samples just sound like they have so much more depth to them. I don't know, just a really rich sound, and then in combination with the effects that they have set up for each of these presets, it's really nice. Now, one thing I don't like about this setup that they have is, even though they work with the Complete Control MK3, there's really no way to flip through the different presets using your Native Instruments Complete Control keyboard. And what I mean by this is, if I go to the browse area here and have it selected on either of these drum plugins, you'll see that there's no presets listed below here. You have one preset, and that is just for Electro, giving you the initialized instance. You can't flip through the different kits using one of these keyboards, which is kind of a bummer, because both of these plugins are really robust in themselves when you're using them as a VST inside of your digital audio workstation. So in order to change a kit, you just go to kit selection, and you can either pick between the factory kits, or if you save your user kits, they'll be saved here. But as you can see, there's a super robust library of different vintage and legendary drum machines. We got 808, 909, DFAM, DX7, Juno, LinnDrum, Toy Kit, and a bunch of others that are a hybrid of different sounds. So you can't control it with your keyboard, but you can use the kit selection button inside here, or you can use the up and down arrows here to get a different kit. So this is the 909 kit. Sounds really good. This is the DFAM kit. I really like those sounds. That really just distorted analog sound just sounds so good. Then we have a DX7. Juno 60. Lindrum. Which is really cool because they got actual permission from Roger Lynn to actually sample the Lindrum, which is great. I don't know if all these other companies do that, but they specifically said that in their walkthrough video. They got explicit permission to sample the infamous Lindrum, which is super cool. So now below here, we have the drum details section. And if I just go back to the 808 kit here, you can see with some of these kits, when you go into things like the kick, you have the option to blend between two different samples. So right now it's just set on an 808 sample, but if I wanted to click on to this and open up a different kit piece, we could pull up maybe like a DFAM kick, and let's see, DFAM fuzzy, let's see what that sounds like. So it's just on the 808 right here, but if I blend it over to the right side, get a DFAM fuzzy sample. And if we blend between the two, and as you saw, you can do this with these snare sounds as well. Just click into it and you can choose any of these other snare sounds. You could add like a 909 with cassette fast. Blend between the two. Doesn't sound the greatest, but we can choose any of these other ones. Let's see if we got DFAM basic in here. So really just blending between the two different types of noises for the DFAM and the 808 snare. So it's just nice that you can blend between two different kit pieces for the kick and the snare, and then all the additional ones are just the individual samples that you select. So for like the hi-hat, you can change this out to be any of the other kit pieces. Same thing with toms, ride, crash, percussion. Yeah, it's all just one sample for those, but it's really nice that you have the option to blend between two for kick and snare on Electro. Now taking a look at Soulfi, if we click on kick here, we don't have those options. You can't blend between two different sounds, but really this is a more acoustic focused drum plugin. So typically you're just going to want to use one kit sound for each of these kit pieces between your kick, snare, hi-hat, toms, so on and so forth. So not a big deal, but it is a little bit of a perk going with Electro if you want to blend between the different sounds. It's all about what you're going to be going after and the type of music that you want to make with these drum plugins. And each is very similar and both have different unique things to offer. Okay, now that you have an idea of what each of these drum plugins entails, I want to go through and just start exploring what I can make with them and see which one I'm kind of leaning towards, because depending on what I'm working on and how I'm improvising with things, it can really change what kind of sounds I want to go with. But let's just at random improvise something and see what I can create and see what these sounds really entail. So I'm going to maybe start with, I don't know, let's start with Soulfi here, since we've already kind of looked at Electro a little more so than Soulfi. So let's just take a look at these kits here. So it starts on Boxy, and again, this is what it sounds like. So that's Boxy kit number 1, and if I click through to the next one, I like how these kits are really snappy. Just have such a nice vintage quality and tone to them. I'm just gonna like talk a little bit less now and figure out what I want to start with here. Ooh, I love that spring reverb. Like Sneaky, it's a good kit. Boomy. Some chimes or something like that in there. What are those? Let's see. Percussion. Yeah, chimes. Low, short, and a clave. Ooh, that's cool. Tight bite. Sounds really good. I like that one. And that's the other thing too, is when you find something you like, so like I really like Tight by Kit 23, there's no favoriting system inside these plugins. That's one of the workflow drawbacks, I would say, because even though they're all organized in a great fashion, I have no way to save presets on the keyboard. So if I go in a browser, like I showed before, there's no way to flip through the different kits. Now, I could probably save it maybe as a Kontakt preset or multi, something like that. But then also inside the interface itself, you can't star your favorite kits. You know, it's all very organized and you can obviously decipher between factory and user kits and all that. But there's no way to star your favorite kits so that when you go through this list, you can just click a star and they all assimilate at the top. And you can flip through them that way. Really, it just seems like you have to save them as a user kit and then they can all show up in here and then you can flip through it that way. But you're still having to go through a menu, click through it, and then get to your favorite. So really, I guess you just have to use the user kits folder as like your favorites because there is no way in these plugins to star any of your favorite kits. Just a small thing, but again, it would be a lot better if it worked directly with Complete Control and Kontakt on my keyboard. Since it is built for Kontakt Free Player and the full edition, it should work with these keyboards in my opinion. And maybe that's something that they'll improve and come out with as an update in the future for all of their plugins, all of their drum plugins, that is. So let's just keep exploring.
Finding the sounds, vintage and new. Do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do.
Sounds cool. Now, another cool thing you can do is mess with this sound design section. So if I just turn on this chaos button, kind of turns it into a clap.
Lost in the source of a future sound. When will I finally be around?
So that is Soulfi and Electro.